One of the things I remember most about my dad, aside from the fact that he would often get us up at the crack of dawn to take us out fishing or take us on long rambling walks in the countryside, was that he was the master of subverting expectations. No matter what you expected him to do, that was not what my dad was going to do. There was times like when I was younger and I went to a fancy dress birthday party. I was dressed as Robin Hood, a costume which my parents had made for me. And I thought that my dad was just going to drop me off and leave me there. Little did I know that he planned on turning up 20 minutes later in his own costume. His own costume was somebody riding an ostrich. He had made the ostrich himself. The legs of the ostrich were his, and he had some fake foam legs hanging over the side. And he spent the entire party going around and pecking people with this blinking ostrich that he was riding. Another time, he did something really unexpected. I told him that I needed a drawing board for my technical drawing course at school. I was expecting one of these A3 plastic things, something I could take around with me, take to school even. And he said, "Don't worry about it, I'll sort it." A few days later, I come home from school and he says, "I've got your drawing board for you. It's in your mum's room." So I went into the room where my mum did her work and didn't see on the table or anything a box with a plastic drawing board in there with the rulers attached to it. Instead, in the corner of the room, there was a 7-foot tall draftsman's board. These things are enormous wooden boards attached to a stainless steel pneumatic base with a big hinged arm with rulers on it for drawing anything you could possibly want. He picked it up from work because they'd moved on to computers, so they didn't need these things anymore. And so instead of having a little drawing board which I could use to take to school with me, I had a draftsman's board for drawing great big technical drawing masterpieces. It was far and beyond what I could have ever really needed. But this was what my dad provided. Another time I said, "Dad, I really desperately need some waterproofs for cycling to school." And he said, "Don't worry, I'll sort it out for you." Now I should have been suspicious at that point, but I was trusting that my dad would go to somewhere like Millet's, pick up some nice navy blue ones for cycling to school in, unobtrusive, it wouldn't stand out in the crowd. No, I came home from school the next day to see that he'd bought me some from work. Now my dad worked for a company which made tractors, so the waterproofs that they had were for walking around the factory in and not getting run over. So the waterproofs were bright yellow. I ended up cycling to school looking more like a North Sea fisherman than somebody going off on a DFE expedition. It was far and beyond what I really needed. And actually, I did get to school completely dry every time. And it had the upside of I would never get hit by a car because everybody could see me coming a mile off. Expectations are a funny thing. Lots of people had different expectations about Jesus, about what sort of person he was going to be. They'd been thinking about the Messiah for centuries before Jesus was born. And safe to say, he didn't quite live up to their expectations. He didn't make friends with the sort of people they thought that he should make friends with. He had friends who were sinners, who were prostitutes, tax collectors, people who worked for Rome. Also, his friends, who were his disciples, they were not what you would call the best kind of people. They were friendly enough, they were nice enough, but they weren't well off, they weren't educated, they were fishermen. They were everyday people. They were people who had already been told that actually they were not good enough to train with a rabbi anymore. So Jesus was very much not the expected Messiah. He did things differently. He did things his own way. He did things God's way.